Good day, management, investor, and all participants online. I would like to welcome you all to Thai Union Group 2017 result announcement. Today, the executives who are joining us today are Mr. Ludovic Garnier, Head of Accounting and Controlling.
Good evening, everyone.
And myself, Bess Vayanon, Investor Relation Manager. This event will comprise of approximately 30 minutes of presentation, and toward the end of the presentation, we'll provide the Q&A session of approximately half an hour. Please do note that this conference call session will be conducted in English. For any participant who has inquiry for our management, please type in a question box on the right and click send. We will raise them during the Q&A session post the presentation. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Ludovic to start the briefing. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Kunbet. So let me introduce myself. So my name is Ludovic Garnier. I'm the head of Group Accounting and Controlling for Thai Union. First of all, I would like to apologize for Kun Yog, who is our Group CFO, who is for the time being not able to attend tonight, but he will be able to join tomorrow for the analyst presentation. So I will go through with you on the financial performance on this Q4. So if you go directly to slide number 6, you will see the KPI for the whole year of Thai Union. And there are two good news on 17, where we have a record top line and a record bottom line. Indeed, the top line amounts to 136.5 billion baht, increasing by 1.6% compared to last year, and increasing by 3.9% excluding all the effects. Bottom line is at record level at 6 billion baht, increasing by 15% compared to last year. In between, and we will have the opportunity to explain this later, gross profit stand at 18.1 billion baht and OP at 4.7 billion baht, decreasing compared to last year, and we will go through this one to explain why. If we focus on page 7, which is a focus on Q4, the story is almost the same that in Q3. Our top line is really good in Q4, where we achieved 35 billion baht sales, growing by 4.1% compared to last year, and by 6.6% if you exclude the effects. This growth rate is the highest since the beginning of the year, and we were quite happy with this one. But the same story that in Q3 and in Q2, our operating profitability was quite soft. Our GP was almost aligned with last year at 4.5 billion baht, decreasing by 1% compared to last year. And the OP stand at 0.9 billion baht, decreasing by 28% compared to last year. And here the story is the same compared to Q3. We are still facing some very high raw material prices, especially on the tuna. And we are also facing some headwinds on the FX, with a very strong appreciation of the Thai baht versus USD. So moving to page number 9. So here you can see that since Q3 2016, we have been facing with very high raw material prices. And it was very difficult for us to absorb this raw material increase. And that has a negative effect on our gross profits, standing around 13 to 12.8% in Q4 17. However, if you look at the performance quarter after quarters, over the past 3 years, we have delivered increasing sales quarter after quarters and over the past 3 years. And our issue is really the gross profit level, where we are facing some difficulties to recover and to increase compared to the past performance. However, despite this difficulty in the operating performance, we are delivering very stable and even increasing net profit. And I think this is something we need to keep in mind. The performance in terms of net profit in Q4 17 is really satisfactory. And now, I would like to have Bess commenting the recent developments.
On the recent development, Thai Union Group has proved to the market, to the investment community all over and again, that we have received and been recognized very well by investment community and the social in general During the fourth quarter, we have been awarded with the Outstanding Investor Relation Award from the SET Stock Exchange of Thailand for the market capitalization of over 100 billion baht. We also received the Best IR magazine for the consumer staple sector from the IR magazine. And we have received a number of other awards in terms of sustainability as well. And not only that, in terms of initiative, we took out the efforts to partner and signing MOU with PTTGC to develop eco-friendly plastic for the packaging for seafood. And we even work with Nestle to launch a demonstration boat to promote human rights and show how the sustainability fishing could have done and could have been done. And this is the first of its kind of the boats, and these are real tangible progress and initiative that we took to work toward the sustainability goal of our company. And with the return to shareholder at our heart, we decided to announce the final dividend of 34 stang per share for the second half of the operation. For the full year dividend, we are paying 0.66 baht per share, which is a 5% increase compared to last year. And not only that, over time, over the last 10 years, from year 2007 to year 2017, our dividend has grown from 0.28 baht per share to 0.66 baht per share in year 2017, or represent a 9% growth per annum. So, this is the key accomplishment and the proof that we are delivering to enhance our shareholder return. And the book closing date will be on the 7th of March this year. As for to enhance the service from the investor relation, we are now opening the line account for the IR at Thai Union. The QR code may be too small on your screen right now, but you can search for the assign IR Thai Union or small letters and ties together, no space, and then you can add us to receive any latest and the most recent news from the investor relation of Thai Union Group. And now I would like to pass back for the financial result to Mr. Ludovic.
So now we are moving on page 17 of the presentation, and I would like to go through the key highlights of Q4 17. So the first one is related to the very strong top line that we had. We achieved some sales amounting to 35.1 billion baht, just below our record, which we did last quarter, which was 35.2 billion baht. So this is a 4.1% growth, on which we are happy. We have to say that it's mainly coming from the operations in Thailand, and it was also strongly impacted by the depreciation of the USD versus Thai baht. So if you exclude this FX change, then the sales would have increased by 6.6%, which is quite a good performance and the best since the beginning of the year. However, we achieved this very strong top-line performance in a context of soft operating profitability. So our gross profit is in Q4 17 below 13%, at a level we are not happy with. There was some change compared to Q3, meaning that tuna gross profit is kind of stabilizing, and I will get back to this. Salmon is recovering, but the other segments, unfortunately, are diluting in terms of gross profit. In terms of SG&A, so you know that our yearly guidance is around 10%. So our reported numbers are 10.3% for this quarter. However, it includes some one-off related to restructuring and relocation, and we will detail these ones later. So the normalized SG&A amount to 9.9% of the NSV. Below the operating profits, we have a lot of good news happening there. So first of all, we have some huge effect gain, like in Q3, mainly thanks to the USD depreciation versus the Thai baht. We had also some good news on the line discontinued operations. If you remember, this is in this line that we report our fishing fleets in Ghana activities since Q1 17, and we sold this activity in Q3 17. Last year we had to record a huge impairment there, which did not happen this year, so we have a strong improvement there. Now talking about Red Lobster, we have a mixed contribution on this quarter. First of all, we still have some very positive impact coming from our interest yield, meaning the difference between our interest income and our interest expense, and the tax savings that are still happening there. However, at a lower level than in Q3. Now, talking about the operating performance of Red Lobster, the contribution was here more mixed because Red Lobster did not improve compared to last year and did not achieve break-even position in Q4 17. Now moving to page number 18. So here we just try to highlight the correlation between the tuna price index and our gross profits. And here you can see, and we will detail it later, that in Q4 17 we were at a record level for the tuna prices. And I think we already achieved these kind of prices a few years ago, before 2015. I think it was in 13 or in 14. And it's always very difficult for our business to face with such inflation in terms of fish price. And you could see that since Q3 16, we are really facing with a huge inflation on the tuna price index. And this has driven our gross profit down. Of course, we are not only exposed to the tuna, but tuna is really the first component and the first driver in our business, because it will have some impact in our tuna segment, but also in the pet care segment, and also in the value-added segment. So it's very significant for us. However, despite these decreasing gross profits, we achieved to deliver a very stable or increasing net profit at 4% in Q4 17, and very, very stable compared to previous years, and even increasing on the last quarters. If you go through page number 19, so here we just present to you the average quarterly price of the tuna, and here you can see very easily the increase that happened since 2016. So we are in Q4 17 at a record price, and I think this is really something we all need to keep in mind when analyzing our financial performance. The average tuna price stands at $2,033 baht, which is very, very expensive there. However, the good news is over the past 2-3 months, we have seen a decrease of this fish price. For the time being, we cannot see any impact of this in our numbers, in our financial statements, because it is too early. However, it raised a good hope for the next year. If you just look at the bottom of the page, you can see the increase on the year-over-year of the fish price. So we had to face in 2017 with a 30% increase in Q1, 17% increase in Q2, 40% in Q3, and 35% in Q4, which is really difficult for us to manage and to negotiate with the retailer some price increase in order to absorb this fish price inflation. Moving to page number 20, so here we start to detail the top line increase. I already commented the change quarter over quarter and year over year, but it was mainly driven by the ambient sales, which were quite good in Q4. We could also say that in 2017, the sale and the gross sales was mainly driven by the organic business. Indeed, we didn't have a lot of M&A activities, so it was mainly driven by organic activities. We can also highlight the fact that over the past 3 quarters in a row, we are achieving a turnover which is above $1 billion, which is a great success for us. Moving to page number 21. So here we just detail the revenue growth component by species. And you can see that for the quarter number 4, the almost all segments were increasing, mainly in tuna, shrimp, that were the 2 main ones increasing. Lobster and sardine mackerels were not increasing, and were decreasing a little bit. And we had to face also with the depreciation of the USD, which has a very big impact in our top line performance, and I will get back to this one. On a yearly the comparison if you compare 2016 with 2017. So you can see that here the increase is 1.6% and 3.9% if you exclude FX, and mainly supported by tuna, shrimp, pet care, and value added there. Moving to page number 22, see we don't have big change compared to previous years on the breakdown by geographic or by business. It's almost the same. We have the USA and Europe slightly decreasing, mainly to the USD and the euro depreciation. And in the meantime, we have emerging markets which are growing. If you remember, we set up a new company in China last year, which is now growing, and which explains the main part of the increase of the other category. In terms of business and breakdown by business, no big change. We are still around 58% for private label and 42% for branded. Both businesses are growing on this one, which is a good news for us. So now moving to slide number 23. Here we go deeper into the understanding of our profitability performance. And as we said, gross profits is under pressure, mainly due to the high raw material price in Q4. It's kind of stabilizing because it's only decreasing by 1% compared to Q4 16. However, on a full year basis, it's decreasing by 9%. And in Q4 17, our gross profit NSV rate stands at 12.8%, at a level we are not happy with. Once again, you need to consider two things when you look at this performance. You need to keep in mind the tuna prices, and as we disclosed, they are at a very high price. Plus, you also have to consider the FX impact that I will detail just after. So moving to the operating profit performance. So here, first talking about the SG&A. As we said, we disclose SG&A at 10.3% in Q4 17, which is a bit higher than our usual guidance at 10%. However, excluding the one-off, we stand at 9.9%, which is exactly in our guidance. On the full year, SG&A stand at 9.8%, and which was the same performance than last year. And I think we are quite happy with this performance because we achieve here a very good cost control with very precise follow-up for all the opcos all along the year on this one. As a consequence, OP stands at 0.9 billion baht in Q4 17, so quite soft operating performance, and for the full year at 4.7 billion baht versus 6.8 last year, decreasing by 31%. Moving to slide number 25. So here, as I said, we can say that the way we disclose FX is not very comfortable for all of us. So of course, we have a lot of transactions which are denominated either in dollars or in euro. And we do a lot of hedging, of course, to protect ourselves from all this FX volatility. Unfortunately, for the time being, under Thai GAAP, we cannot disclose in the sales or the COGS lines the related hedging effects coming from this one. Okay, so the impact coming from the FX transactions are presented in the line FX gain. And this is why we have such a huge FX gain line in Q4 17. And this is also part of the explanation of our soft operating performance in Q4 17. So here we just perform an analysis of the FX gain that we have in Q4 17 and the same for the previous quarters. And we made a distinction between what was related to operations and financing, because of course in this line you have both of them. And we just tried to reclassify everything which was related to operating to the gross profit, to disclose an adjusted gross profit and also an adjusting operating profit. And here the picture is improving. The picture is still decreasing compared to last year. However, the picture is really improving compared to the previous one that I just commented. Indeed, on the whole year basis, if you don't do this restatement, you were presenting a 9% decline, but now it's only 4.8%. And the same on the OP. So we can see here that the impact on the FX hedging is really important. We fully acknowledge that it's not very comfortable for us to have this presentation of the FX. So we are really working if and analyzing if we can move to adopting hedge accounting in 2018. For the time being, this is not possible as per Thai regulation, and we are expecting some move from the Board of Accounting Standards of Thailand. If we can do this, then we could early adopt the hedge accounting, and in that case, maybe in 2018, at one stage, we will be able to disclose in the lines sales and COGS the related FX impact coming from the hedging. And I think that would really is the way to compare our performance year after year. So page 26, this is the EBITDA performance, quite strong and growing by 40% compared to Q4 2016, which is a really good performance there on this one. So page 27, as we said already, so we achieved a record net profit level in 2017, and especially in Q4. Despite the soft operating performance, all the lines below the operating profits were positive. So first of all, the FX was a huge gain in Q4 17 at plus 350 million baht. We had also an increase in the other income lines. There are several explanations from this. The main one is coming from the sale of assets of our pet care business in the US. So this is a one-off. And we have also some tax refund there which explain this increase. We had also some good news in the tax line, which is an income for Q4, which is quite unusual. We had some one-off here coming from France and from the US, kind of the same situation that we already faced with last year in Q4 2016. And I will get back also to this one. Contribution from Red Lobster is traditionally a bit weak in Q4. And in Q4 17, it did not improve compared to last year. So Red Lobster did not manage to deliver a positive net income in Q4 17. If we look at the whole year contribution from Red Lobster in our share profits, it's a loss by $6 million. So we are not happy with this performance. We wanted to achieve a break-even situation, and for the time being, we were not able to achieve this one. Few reasons for this one. First of all, Red Lobster had to face with very difficult weather conditions in Q4 on this one, and they had also to face with lower guest, which affect the whole restaurant industry in the US. However, despite these effects, we achieved a record 6 billion baht net profit, increasing by 15% compared to last year, which we believe is really a great performance that we need to highlight. On page number 28, so here we just focus on the one-off. The impact of the one-off are not huge in Q4 17. The reported net profit is 1.4, and the normalized net profit is 1.3. So few one-off to highlight. The first one is related to some restructuring in Europe for something around 80 million baht. Then we had some costs from our US office relocation. If you remember, we disclosed that fact already in Q3. Before we had two headquarters, one in San Diego, one in Los Angeles. And now we moved to have only one headquarter in Los Angeles in the US. On the flip side, we had some capital gain from sale of assets that I already mentioned. And we had also some one-off effect on the tax line for 150 million baht. Just 2 words on this one. The 150 million baht is a net of two amounts. We have a very positive one-off coming from France for something around 250 million baht. This is coming from a new decrease of the tax rate in France, exactly the same story that last year. So we needed to revise our deferred tax basis in France, which are very significant there. So we had a significant gain here. Plus, on the opposite side, we had a negative effect coming from the new tax law in the US. I'm sure you have heard about the decrease of the tax rate in the US, which is not effective yet in 2017 for the current income tax. It will only be effective in 2018. However, we needed also to take this one into consideration for our deferred tax basis. And this one generated an expense for us around 100 million baht in the US, because we are in a situation of net deferred tax asset. So moving to slide number 29. So the earnings per shares are increasing by 56% year after year on year, exactly in line with the net profit increase. So I will not comment more on this. Moving to slide number 30. So here we start all the analysis regarding the cash flow. So we can say that despite the very high raw materials cost inflation in 2017, we achieved and we still have a positive cash flow, free cash flow, on the whole year. In Q4, it was a soft performance with a free cash flow which were slightly negative at minus 142. On the whole year, we generated 2.9 billion bahts, much lower than last year at 5.5 billion baht. The main explanation for this one is the net working capital increase due to the raw material increase. Moving to page number 31, so regarding our long-term funding. In terms of currency, we don't have big change there. The vast majority of our funding is denominated in Thai baht. However, talking about maturity, we have a big change because in 2016, the majority of our funding was on short-term loan. And due to the whole refinancing we did in Q1 17, now our funding is much more on the long-term debt for 76%. Page number 32. So here we present the bridge of our net debt between 2016 and 2017. So it's quite stable year on year, moving from 65 billion baht to 66.4 billion baht. The gearing is increasing, slightly increasing from 137 to 138, so almost stable on this one. Few highlights on this one. The first one, and we present it here, we disclose the adjusted net debt to equity. Indeed, when we disclose 138%, we do not take into consideration the convertible preferred unit that we have towards Red Lobster in our assets. If you take this one into consideration, then the adjusted net debt to equity is at 113. So the main driver for our net debt change between 16 and 17 are the change in net working capital by 2.5 billion. The capex, we still, despite the very difficult business environment, we maintain a very high level of capex because we believe we need to. And then we had the dividend for 3.4. We also were willing to maintain a very high level of dividend this year. Be sure that the net debt to equity ratio is really under focus from the top management here, and we are really working on this one. Page 33, the key ratio. I will not spend a lot of time on this one, maybe just on the net working capital. So you have the inventory days slightly increasing from 118 to 126. And then you have also the change in net working capital. You have the ROE, which is increasing mainly thanks to the Red Lobster effects. And then we don't have any big change regarding ratio on the debt to EBITDA or the net debt to equity ratio. And then I will leave Kun Best to comment the results by business units.
For the result of business unit, as Kun Ludovic has been mentioning about the operational headwind, particularly on the tuna business, we can see here clearly that the raw material price has trending, especially on the tuna, has been trending up high, despite the fact that in the toward the end of the fourth quarter, the tuna price tend to fall back a little bit. On average, the fourth quarter year 2017 still continued to rise even higher compared to the third quarter. But now that the tuna price has been starting to come off, we believe that once the inventory adjustment has been taking place, we should be able to negotiate and pass on the price more effectively into year 2018. Nonetheless, the tuna price during the fourth quarter has been up by 35%. Other than that, the shrimp business has been relatively stable. The local Thai shrimp for 60 pieces per kg has been pretty much flat, just down by 3% compared to last year. and salmon price has been more accommodative, with the fourth quarter price actually coming down by 25% compared to last year, which resulting in our salmon business operation in Europe are now start to show a break even for the fifth quarters in a row. For the next one, a lot of you will probably have been aware. Part of this has already been reflected in our financial statement. The US dollars against Thai baht has been weakened very significantly, or on another hand, baht has been appreciated very sharply against US dollars. So US dollars to Thai baht has been weakened by 7% compared to last year, which has been resulted in a very significant FX gain that we booked in during the fourth quarter. While Europe and pounds has been relatively stable compared to what it was last year. For the business unit breakdown, the sales mix are relatively stable, with ambient seafood marginally declined from 46% last year, now down to 45, giving way to the frozen and chilled seafood business, which are now growing its contribution from 41% to 42% this year, while pet care and other value added still account for the 13% of the remaining sales. Breakdown wise, on ambient seafood, we have seen that while the volume are not growing compared to last year, we are seeing a very good growth. Fourth quarter ambient seafood sales were at 15 billion Thai baht, which is up 7% compared to last year. So these are attributed mostly to the price adjustment to reflect the higher raw material price. So as a result, on the fourth quarter, gross profit margin has been up by almost 119 basis points to 15.2%. This is due mainly to the ability to eventually pass on the high raw material costs to our customer. For year 2017 in general, we are still seeing that the ambient seafood sales are growing flat. While we have managed to raise the price, we start to see the demand has dropped due to those pricing increase and our aggressive competition in the industry. Now we move on to the second segment, which is frozen and chilled seafood. Most of the product under this category are shrimp. The fourth quarter frozen and chilled seafood business recorded their sales at 15.7 billion. It's up by 2.4% and continue to show resilient growth both in terms of sales value and the quantity. While on the other hand, the European salmon business gross profit has continued to be in a positive territory due to the falling and stable salmon price in the region. So as a result, the gross profit margin of the frozen and chilled seafood business remain relatively stable compared to last year, both in the fourth quarter and in the entire year 2017. For the pet care and value-added business, we are seeing zero growth here. The sales are coming in at 4.5 billion Thai baht, which is flat both year-on-year and QoQ. These are mostly due to the fact that we have the sales reclassification on some of the value-added item to other segment. While on the other hand, the pet food business continued to deliver a solid growth of 9% compared to last year during the fourth quarter. We have seen some of the margin decline from 25% last year to 17% in year 2017. This decline are mostly account for the reclassification of the cost structure of some of the sales of scrap in the others products category. While the pet care business are also facing with the headwind from the rising tuna raw material price as well. And for the sake of this quarters onward, we decide to disclose more information. Now we are not only the product segment, we also disclose the sales by region as well and the happening around the world in regard to our operation. For the US and Canada, North America market, the sales growth are hindered by the currency. Clearly, the US and Canada sales were at 54, almost 55 billion Thai baht, which in Thai baht term has been down by 2%. However, if we would revert this back to the US dollars term, the sales are actually growing by 2% to about 1.6 billion US dollars. The Chicken of the Sea has launched some of the sustainable products and programs such as Sea Change as part of the raising consumer awareness. So this has gained a lot of traction with the customer. On the other hand, the Red Lobster has been contribute to the sales growth for the company frozen business as well. For European business, we are seeing the European sales are at 43 billion Thai baht last year, which was down by 1.2%. But again, if we would have reverted this out and excluding to the US dollar sales, the sales was actually growing by almost 3%, now sitting at 1.3 billion US dollars. The rising tuna raw material price coupled with the currency depreciation hurt the product demand that we have seen the volume decline in the European market. While the European salmon business sees sales weakness, but the profit margin has clearly improved as a result from the salmon price has been weakening compared to last year. And the fish oil refinery is due to start operation in year 2018, which should eventually enhance the value-added business out of Europe. Now for Thailand. In year 2017, Thailand sales were at 13 billion Thai baht, which is up by 17% compared to last year. This sales has strong sales growth has been driven by tuna product repricing, of course, as a result from the high tuna raw material price. And Thai Union has also launched some of the new initiative product into Thai market, such as frozen seafood brand under brand Q Fresh and shrimp snack called Monore. We also managed to improve our volume sales in the shrimp and the tuna product category as well. And for the emerging market and the rest of the world, we also, similar to Thailand's story, we also see a very solid growth with the emerging market are now attributing 26 billion Thai baht sales for year 2017, which is up by 8% compared to last year. The initiative to sell the frozen product into China to both own brand and King Oscar and the business partnership with Alibaba has been doing us a very good job in terms of penetrating into the Chinese market. So in sum, we are on the gross profit margin breakdown. In year 2017, we have recorded a gross profit of 18.1 billion Thai baht. Of these are attributing from ambient seafood for about 9.5 billion, frozen and chilled seafood about 5.3, and pet care and value added contributing another 3.4 billion US dollars. So in total, our gross profit margin are coming in at 13.3%, arguably lower than compared to last year, and those are mainly due to the high raw material price that happened along the year. For the further business outlook, we have been now providing the guidance for year 2018 operation. I would like to pass on the stage to Ludo to share with us.
So for 2018, our guidance are detailed page 49 of the presentation. So the top line, the sales, we are targeting to achieve a plus 5% increase year on year, with a gross profit margin which should be below 15.15%. The SG&A are targeting to be below 10% of the NSV. Then the effective interest rate should be almost aligned with 2017. The effective tax rate should be around 15%. Capex around 4.8 billion baht. And we maintain our dividend policy to distribute at least 50% and to target a 50% dividend payout on this one.
Okay. So that sums up the presentation. Now I would like to take you now I'd like to open the Q&A session for any inquiry that you may have. For any participant who have any inquiry, please type in the question box on the right of the screen and click send. We will try to go through as much as possible in regarding to your incoming inquiry. Okay, we have already got a few questions here.
So we have a first one, which is what are the one-off items during Q4 17, and are any of them set to recurring into 2018? So the one-off are detailed and disclosed page 28 of the presentation. Once again, we don't have huge impact coming from one-off over this quarter. We have some positive and negative, and the net amount is slightly negative on this one. There was one question about any of them to be recurring, so it's a bit weird for question talking about one-off, but that's absolutely correct because we had the relocation cost in the US, which were already there in Q3 17 and also there in Q4 17, but now it's supposed to be finished. The relocation is effective, so we do not expect to see any of these one-off items to happen again in 2018.
Okay, and second, for the other income, has our line has been growing so much. We have been explaining part of the other income growth has been due to the gains from sales of assets. One of those assets are the machinery sales from our as a result from the USPN, which is our US pet food business restructuring. So we have some gains from there, and we have some other gains from other sales of other assets as well. But yeah.
Next question is related to the interest income line, which is around 1.1 billion baht. And the question is, are these mostly attributed to Red Lobster? And yes, this is absolutely correct. The financial interest from Red Lobster is the vast majority of this line.
Mm-hmm. Okay, for the equity income line, which is negative, okay, there has been a question about how our affiliate has been doing. So I would like to confirm that the Avanti is still doing great. So the equity income or share profit resulted mainly from the operation weakness from Red Lobster. We have been highlighting that the Red Lobster during the fourth quarter is the normal seasonality weakness for Red Lobster, and operationally, Red Lobster did not see net profit improvement compared to the fourth quarter of last year.
Still on Red Lobster, we have some question about the should the Red Lobster tax credit be like into 2018. So we disclosed the fact that in 2017, in Q3 already, we benefited from huge tax savings on Red Lobster. For the time being, we have a bit of uncertainty on this one, but we believe it's not sustainable. So we believe that in order to be cautious, we should not consider these ones to be sustainable and to happen again in 2018. We benefited in 2017 with a lot of one-off on Red Lobster tax structuring. They may happen again, but in order to be cautious, we prefer to say that we don't consider them in 2018. We have another question, which is related to the income tax, the positive tax credit happening in Q4 17. As I mentioned, and if you refer to the page 28 of the document, you have some one-off happening this quarter. Positive one-off for 250 from France, and negative one-off coming from the US for 100 million baht. So the net impact of these two is minus 150, and explain most part of the tax credit that we faced with in Q4 17. However, as we communicated during our guidance, the guidance for the effective tax rate for 2018 is still at 15%. We benefited in 2017 with a lot of changes in the tax regulation in the US, in France, and in a lot of different countries, which were mostly beneficial to us, but we don't expect this one to be sustainable and to happen again in 2018. This is why, even if we acknowledge the fact that in 2017 we benefited from a low tax rate, we forecast to be back to a normal situation on the tax rate in 2018.
Okay, for the tuna price outlook, we have seen that the tuna price in January are now falling at about $1,550 per ton. But those are mainly due to the more robust catching starting from the year. Please note that last year we have seen the yellowfin tuna quota and the biomass has been low, so there has been a very restricted quota on catching toward the end of year 2017, which partly caused the price of tuna to grow very high. But as a result, when we are on the new year, so we are starting on a new quarter, we are starting to see tuna price been dropping. But nonetheless, we are operating business on the basis that we are expecting to see tuna price improve or continue to grow along into the year, into the seasonality peakness. But nonetheless, we are expecting that the gross profit out of tuna business in year 2018 should be improving as a result from the ongoing negotiation and talk and discussion with our customer.
We have another question regarding the John West case, and are they connected to IUU fishing in Ghana, and what is the expected impact there? So indeed, we learned in January 2018 that that our subsidiary John West was prosecuted in the UK by the UK prosecution services for potential offences on IUU fishing in Ghana related to the period 2012-2014. So we were aware of some investigation on this topic since the past 3 years, but over the past 3 years there was nothing new. We didn't have any news on this one, so we believed it was a dead case. However, we received such information beginning of 18. So we are contesting very seriously, and we are really working very seriously on this. For the time being, we are not able to predict any potential outcome, and we will update you on the procedure on this one.
For the pet care and value-added business segment that see a significant margin decline, as I said earlier, I mean we are expecting that the decline in year 2017 compared to 16 are due to some of the margin reclassification. But on top of that, we also have seen toward the end of the year the pet food margin has been pressured due to the tuna price continue to remain on the elevated level. Nonetheless, we are into year 2018, we are expecting that the pet food business should be able to improve similarly to the tuna business, where we continue to negotiate our pricing with our customer very closely.
So we have one question regarding our top line guidance, sales growth by 5%, and do we have any particular business segment to contribute to this growth? So we do not provide with any specific breakdown of this guidance by segments, but what we can say is we are targeting to have some growth in all our different businesses on this one. This is what we can say for 2018.
For the further breakdown on the capex guidance of $4.8 billion. In the past, we normally set aside about 3.6 billion Thai baht. 3.6 billion Thai baht for our organic capex. Those are going into the normal operation. And this year is still not different, but we have been out of this 4.8 billion Thai baht, we have allocated about 20% of those to the specifically to enhance and improve our plant in Seychelles operation, so that we would have a better operation to accommodate the growing demand from the European market.
We have another question which is related to FX. So what's your view on FX and hedging policy this year? We believe that we will face in 2018 with quite a strong volatility on the FX as we did in 2017. You know that in 2017 we faced with a huge increase from the Thai baht versus GBP or versus USD. For the time being, in the first months of 2018, it seems to be the same case. We have a very conservative FX policy on this one. We don't try to play with this because we are so much exposed that we really want to be protected on this one. So we take some very conservative approach on this. However, there is one thing that we would like to change is the way to display the effect of this hedging policy in our financial statements. Because for the time being, having a separated line, FX, which is below our operating performance, we believe is not reflecting very well the real performance of the company. And if we can do it, and if the tie gap are changing in 2018, which is the plan for the time being, then we are thinking about moving to hedge accounting. And in that case, we will be able to represent the effect of this hedging into the sales or the COGS lines, which I think will really improve and help to understand the performance of the Thai Union Group.
There's a question about the why SG&A to sales increase
Year on year.
the year on year.
Year on year from 9.4% quarter in Q4 16 to 9.9 in Q4 17. So we can see on this one that we had in Q4 17 some negative one-off, and we had in Q4 16 some positive one-off, which explain the major part of the difference. We had some specific events also that we did not mention in the one-off, but we had the 40th anniversary of the company and stuff like this that also explain the slight increase in terms of percentage of NSV on this one. However, if you compare with historical data, the 9.4% in Q4 16 was a bit low compared to our historical tendency. The 9.9% in Q4 17 is more in line with our practice. We have some question regarding tax reclaim continue in 2018. If so, how big should we expect? Of course, we try to claim we try to reclaim the tax when it is possible, and we are really following very closely all the tax regulation change in every country. And in these past months, there were really a lot of new things happening there, a lot of changes happening in the US, in Europe, and in most European countries there. So we are really trying to benefit from this one. Overall, we can say that the overall business environment is quite positive on this one, because we can see a global tendency to a decrease of the tax rate everywhere in the world, which we believe is good for our business in the long term. We sometimes had to face with some negative one-off, like the one we had at the end of 17 on the US, because each time you have a change in the tax rate, you need to revise your deferred tax basis, and then depending if you have a position of deferred tax asset or deferred tax liabilities, then it generates some deferred tax income or expense.
There's a question on how many percent of ambient seafood sales come from tuna. So that is falling into around 70% of the ambient seafood, plus or minus, of the ambient seafood are attributed to the tuna business. All right. Give me one sec. The sales guidance in year 2018 is in baht term. and for your note, yes.
And do you believe your margin will be higher this year than in 2017? Yes, this is our target, definitely. So the guidance is just below 15% for 2018, which would be an improvement compared to 2017. Let's be very clear. We are not happy with the level of GP. There were some very good reasons in 2017. We are really working on this one, working on repricing to retailers and how we can improve the situation and be back to a normal situation.
All right. I think the time has been catching on us. Well, apologize. We can afraid that we have to let Ludovic go, and the time for the meeting is about to end today. Please note that we will continue to see you at the analyst meeting. For those who are in Thailand and as an analyst or fund manager, you are very, very welcome to our analyst meeting tomorrow at Okura Hotel. The registration start at 9:30, and there you can meet our management, both Kun Thiraphong Thapong, our CEO, and Kun Yok will be there to answer you more of the high-level question. All right. For now, this concludes the live webcast session for the Thai Union Group year 2017 result announcement today. Thank you very much for your time and interest in participating in the event today. If you have any further inquiry, please feel free to contact our AR department at any time during the office hours. I wish you have a good day and thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Good night, actually.